Don't judge me.
Hey guys, today we're going to go over 30 or so observations I've had with the Apple Vision Pro over the last week. Now, I know there's a lot of videos out there talking about the weight and the soft cover and it's $3,600. I'm going to try to avoid a lot of those types of points and go into new things that I'm picking up from using this device every day. Let's get started. I'm going to go over a list of pros and then I'm going to go into some other things that are maybe not as ideal with the device. First off, I'm going to talk about some of the little things that Apple has done with the audio on this device. So if you go partial or full immersion on this, whether you're top a mountain or next to the lake, you're going to hear birds chirping, the wind howling, and I just think it's awesome how they've implemented this on the device. I'm actually a big fan of white noise while I work, just to keep the distractions out. So it's almost like it's one less thing that I need to load in the background to kind of get in the zone. So that has been a really welcome addition, and they've done this really well. Another thing I've noticed, for example, again, just the small things. If you're watching YouTube on Safari, for example, if you start scrolling, you want to read some comments, it actually sounds like the video is going above and further away from your head. You can tell it's spatial audio, it's maybe kind of going behind our ears, which is just a really cool effect. It took me a while, like, are they really doing this? But you bring the page back down, and then it feels like the video and the audio is right in front of your face. You start scrolling and it goes away. So you'll notice throughout different apps and experiences that Apple has done some neat things with the audio, whether talking with others or just kind of consuming videos yourself. Speaking about audio from a hardware perspective, these little speakers, they're something else. I thought when I got this device, I'd be popping in my AirPod Pros just to get a little bit better audio. I haven't done it once. I haven't paired them and I've never felt the need. It's weird. The design, they're flat. They just kind of shoot down into your ear, but they actually work really well. The bass response, the feeling that you're there, I'm surprised. And to give you that 360 sound that that's coming from all sides of you, I don't know how they do it from two stationary planes that are coming into your ear canal. But they did a nice job. Whatever little acoustic tricks they're doing are seeming to do the job. So I'm going to say headphones are not needed if you're using this device. I'll also say from using this in the living room by my kids and my wife, I thought they'd be able to hear what I'm hearing a lot easier, but that's also not the case, which is good. It's not distracting others, unless maybe you're in a library or whatnot, but I like that as well. That's been a plus. Another cool pro with this is panorama photos, and I didn't expect that. Now, I've taken a few over the years just because I was in some inspiring location, and so I've taken them, but they don't generally turn out that well. You scan your phone side to side, and sometimes if something moves, there's just like a big blur in the image, and if you go look at the photos later on your phone or iPad or on your Mac, they don't ever look that good. They're just super skinny and long, and if you really want a nice panorama photo, you get a real camera and you take multiple shots, you stitch them together, if you want something that's worthy of hanging on your wall. So I just don't get into those as much. But I'm glad over the years I've taken them. So you load them on this device within the Photos app, and you literally turn your head side to side, and it almost feels like you're there. It's not quite like spatial photos and videos, but it's kind of close. So, there's been moments where I was in a campsite and I could see my parents' old pop-up camper, my dad's truck, and all of us there, and I could relive the moment. There was another time I was overlooking the Mississippi with our young kids and had some nice outlook, and you could see everywhere like you were there, standing there at that point in time, which is really cool. So panorama photos actually have a life again, and I'll probably start taking more of them. Now, an important note on spatial videos or photos, this was a light bulb moment for me, but you got to take them if you have the capability. So for example, if you have an iPhone Pro, I don't know what year it started, but you can take spatial video and I'll actually use two of the lenses at once and create that 3D effect. So I took a couple of those before getting the device, just so I had a few loaded. Now, if you didn't know, you can take those videos and photos from this device as well. So it'll use the cameras that are built in along the bottom and the front to take those. But here's my warning. If you don't have one of these and you say, I'm not going to buy I'm not going to buy one of these for 10 years. I'm going to wait for the technology to get better. I'm going to wait for the prices to go down. Here's what you should do. take spatial videos with your camera, even every now and then. I'm not saying you have to do it full time, but you'll never be able to go back in time and do it. And here's what I'm thinking. I took videos of my children, we were playing, and it was incredible. It was like I was in the room with them again, watching it through the Apple Vision Pro, and it was so immersive, so cool. And I'm just saying, if you don't have one of these, and you got memories to capture, whether you're on an epic vacation or your kids are young and they're only young once, take some videos, because if you get this in a decade or two and the formats are compatible, you're going to be able to relive those moments, and it's going to be the most special experience ever. Just even going back to some of those panorama photos, I almost had a tear in my eye looking at those again, because it felt like I was in that moment. So word to the wise, check it out. Another pro I found with this is it's the new standing desk. It's obvious, but I didn't really think about it in that way until I used it. So I was standing in my dining room probably for 20 minutes just because I wanted to stretch my back, and I was computing, doing all the things I want to do with browsing the web, checking email, text messages, and I'm like, I can stand anywhere I want and work. And, with portable power, I don't have to be plugged into a wall. Yes, it stinks that there's kind of a cord here, but you could be outside, you could be on vacation, you could be on the plane, you can stand, sit wherever you want, which is really awesome. So I have, it's a nice built-in L-shaped desk in this office, and I've always thought, man, it'd be cool to tear this all out and put standing desks, because I do have some back issues. But now with this and the ability to stand and work anywhere, I'm okay leaving this now. This is an unexpected thing that I just really didn't think about, but it's a great benefit. It stays aligned to your face. It's easy to see the screens. You can do some stretching. You can hop on a treadmill. It's now a health device. You can justify the cost to your wife. Another game changer moment for me was being able to use Mac applications on this device. So you're sharing this screen, and what is awesome is I can be editing Final Cut Pro on this machine. I can enlarge it in front of me, make it as big as I want, push it back, but I could have the music app to my left. I could have my reminders app to the right, running native on this device, and I can move between them. So for example, if I paired a mouse with the Apple Vision Pro, I could move it between my Final Cut timeline back to the Vision Pro apps. I could use my keyboard at any app I want. One thing I did notice, which I didn't really think about, if you have your keyboard tied to your Mac or, built in with like a MacBook Pro, that doesn't get used on other apps. If you have your mouse paired to your computer, that cannot be used across the Vision Pro apps as well. So this was a little odd to me because, with universal control that they introduced on the Mac, I, for example, could set my iPad next to my Mac. I could have my mouse paired with my computer, and I could move it to the left side of the screen, and it would go into my iPad, and so I could use it across devices. So I'm kind of shocked that if something's paired to the computer, I cannot move it between screens on my Apple Vision Pro, and I actually have to have everything paired with this to do it right. So it's not a big deal. I don't know how often I'll do this, but it is also slightly annoying. So if I have to repair everything to this, back to my computer, that can be tiresome. And I did run into an issue where I had my trackpad paired with the Apple Vision Pro earlier. I went to work in here the next day. I couldn't reconnect it or pair it back to my computer until I killed the power on this. I guess I could have went in the settings, unpaired it, but I killed the power, and then I could finally repair it to my computer. So there's a little cumbersome process there, which I hope they improve in the future. I'll also say when I made my last video, I was going around the house showing you how I had screens, by the fridge and above the stove in the bathroom, in my office, and I was working. I had my Mac, displayed on my Apple Vision Pro. I probably had 3 crashes doing that, and it was always when I fired up my Mac onto the Apple Vision Pro. I don't know if I just overloaded it with all the windows and apps I had open around the house, and as I was walking around, but it would restart the device and I had to reset up everything multiple times. So there's probably some bugs in the software that they're going to have to keep working on, but I expect that'll get better over time. Last point on doing work with this, it's just so surreal working on the edge of a lake, looking at the water, left to right, seeing the trees, hearing the birds chirping, being on the mountain. It is so relaxing. but you're sitting in a normal, comfortable desk chair in your nice temperature-controlled house, but yet you have your computer with you. It is, I can't describe it. I hope they add more to these experiences. If I could look to the right and see a deer going to get a drink or a fish jump, that would be cool. And they're already doing some of this. Like if you look in the sky, you'll see the clouds moving side to side. So that's neat. And there's some light and dark themes you can do as well. So I'm sure this is only going to get better, but how peaceful to be able to work in that fashion. I did find while doing work that I would dial the immersion probably to 50-60%, and that's just so I could see the keyboard in front of me. Now, thankfully, I'm good enough where I don't need to look at the keys, but I did find trouble when I had to realign my hands to like the home key, that I wasn't always aligning correctly. And I know there's little notches on the keys that help you with that, but just being able to see the keyboard a little bit in front of you, but enough of the scenery made all the difference and worked really well. Now for this next one, I said I wouldn't go into too many points that other YouTubers have made already, but I have to stress how good the video quality is on the Apple Vision Pro. I found myself rewatching 2D movies like Greyhound on the device, even though I don't really rewatch movies all that often, but I couldn't help it. The cinema experience of being able to choose if you sit in the front or the back or on top of the balcony, making that screen, super large is so cool. And I wish I could show you, but with copyright issues, they don't even let you take screenshots when you're playing a movie. But it is awesome, and you just have to see it. Now, I watched this, I think it was called Highline or something like that Apple produced on Apple TV, and it was a woman in Norway that was slacklining between two rock ledges. It's up in the mountains in the middle of nowhere. You take a helicopter in, and it was incredible. It was almost like you were hanging on the edge of the mountain with her. You could see the pores on her face, the close-up of the cuts on her feet as she was slacklining across. You could see every detail like you were right there with her. It's kind of freaky. If you're scared of heights, it may get you, but I'll also note I didn't feel motion sickness. I have been at high elevations on other VR sets in the past, and it kind of freaked me out and made me feel a little woozy, but for whatever reason on this device, I wasn't feeling it, and I haven't with all my experiments and playing games yet, so that's a plus. But the video quality is fantastic. I was never much a fan of 3D videos in the past, or they just didn't look that realistic. But testing out some Marvel films and flicks on this, absolutely awesome. I can't wait to watch more of them. And much like the awesome flexibility of standing and working is the flexibility just to lay down and watch videos or browse the web or do whatever. So for example, I am known to have my iPad in bed for an hour or two every night, and I'm always changing positions, trying to get comfortable because of my back, just to watch videos. And it gets old, my neck hurts, but you put this on, you look straight up at the ceiling, you make the screen big, and you just sink into your pillow looking straight up in a natural position, and it makes it so much more enjoyable to watch YouTube or whatever the case may be, easily scrolling with your fingers, making the screen exactly how you'd like. I give that an A for neck health, comfort, and just being able to relax before bed. Last positive point, and it may just be me, I haven't officially tested this, but Siri is really fast. I don't know why, but when I use it, the globe pops up right away. Commands go through instantly. I don't know if they're tweaking something or what, but really responsive. Now I'll go into a few bad things or things that could be improved. One is this light seal. So it works fine at blocking light. Now I would like it a little bit more comfortable, and that's another story. But it fits nicely. It's good quality, but it comes off way too easy. And the problem with that is it takes up most of the size. So like if you palm this thing, oftentimes you're getting a lot of seal in your hand, which, isn't a problem, but you just got to make sure you know what you're doing. So because this comes off, if you were to grab it just by this or not get enough metal, it'll go crashing down, and that could be a very expensive mistake. So what I've found, with giving this to friends or family, they go to grip it from me and they grab it, and they're not getting enough of the device. So I would just be careful. That's a caution point for me, that you got to make sure you're grabbing the outsides. Now you're mucking with the front glass or plastic, whatever it is, a little bit more and giving it fingerprints, but you don't want to grab it by this. Another thing that I think can be improved is the guest mode. So guest mode allows someone else to view this and go through the apps, and you can set permissions to make sure, they don't do anything they shouldn't do. But what happens is you go in the settings, you enable guest mode, and then basically you have 5 minutes to get it on their head. Otherwise, it's going to revert and just go back to how you'd normally use it. But once they put it on, they would hold this crown at the top, and that's going to start realigning these lenses on the inside, to adjust for their eyes. And then after you do that, you have to scan your back of your hands, the front of your hands, and then you go through a series of, pinch and dots just to make sure all the cameras are totally aligned before you can start, using it as a guest. Now, I get why Apple does that. They're trying to make sure everything is crystal clear, aligned, so that's going to be a good experience. But I hope they find a way to make that faster in the future. If you have multiple people that want to try it out, you're going through that process every time. If they take it off, it'll revert, and you got to put it back in guest mode, and you start from zero. So that's a little wonky. I wish they could speed that up, but something again that could be approved in a future update. And another thing that I find to be an issue, and it's not the fault of the Apple Vision Pro, but it's going on my phone to do whatever. Maybe I have to answer something, or there's something with an app that's only on here, not here. And this uses Face ID. So when I have this on, Face ID doesn't work. So I have to let it fail out. Then I have to do my passcode. It's kind of a bummer. Maybe could it sense that these devices are close, and because this already did a retina scan, it could unlock my phone, kind of like the relationship between the Apple Watch and the phone. I don't know, but that could be improved as well. It does get a little annoying. And if you take this off to get to your phone, then you got to re-authenticate into this device. And if, for example, you're connected to your Mac, then you got to repair those as well. So that's kind of a bummer. And you just got to improve your workflow to make sure that you're aware of these situations. So the battery on the Apple Vision Pro lasts, 2 to 3 hours. Depends on what you're doing. If you're watching videos or just doing general browsing, which is fine. I get it. And you can always plug it into the wall while you're using it to make it last longer. But I actually wish that they had some better way of seeing how much battery life you had on the device while you're using it. You can pull up and see the control panel. It'll tell you the percentage left. If you get down, I don't know if it's like 10, 20%, 5%, it'll give you warnings on screen that your battery's getting low. But I just wish it was easier to see it, at a glance like you do on your iPad, your MacBook Pro, or your phone. I get it. They're probably just trying to keep a clean UI. It's not that far away, but you kind of get lost in the moment. You're using this, you're watching videos, and time flies, and it'd just be nice to kind of keep a gauge of that. But also, worst case, you can just ask Siri how much battery life you have left, and she'll give you an instant response no matter what you're doing. So that's kind of a hack to, get by. Speaking of battery, I get why it's corded. This thing's already heavy, and if they attach this in the back, maybe it would help with some of the balance and the pressure, but it would be just too much weight on your head. So I don't mind this. It doesn't bother me. Walking around, putting it in your pocket, absolutely no problem. But in many other situations, I keep dropping this thing. I keep wondering if I'm going to do damage to where it connects on this port on the side, or if I'm going to ruin the cord here. I know this is replaceable, so that's good, but it's going to be expensive. But for example, if I'm working at my computer, I'm just setting this on my desk, and often because I have the AC adapter going into this as well. And I turn, I hook it, or the arm of my chair catches it, and that thing falls and it hits the ground, and sometimes it pulls my head. I know I could do better at keeping it, on my body, but it's just one of those things. And especially if you're using hand motion, sometimes you just hook things and then accidents happen. So that is kind of a downfall with having this type of a setup. Speaking about using this on my Mac again, while this may have the crispest screens in the world, the 4K is awesome. The quality is great. Watching movies, using stock apps on here is awesome. I do sometimes get a little fogginess on the edges, especially when, pairing it with my Mac and using that as a screen. So for example, if I'm editing a video in Final Cut Pro and I'm transferring files from like another window on the side, the text on those file names is just a little bit out of focus until I look, and then it knows my eyes are there and it clears everything up. But, I know it's hard to kind of read on the peripheral, but you can to some degree, right? And so things that are around me, I'm trying to analyze and use and think about my next action. And just with everything slightly out of focus, except for what's directly in front of my eyes, it's kind of a problem, and I wish they could improve that. It's the same with taking like spatial video and stuff like that. It's kind of foggy around the edges, but clear in the middle. I'm hoping in future versions they can make that a little bit nicer, just so it's crisp all the way around, no matter if you're looking there or not. Back to a pro, using this on Safari is awesome. Viewing websites is surprisingly good. Like I didn't think clicking links and buttons and manipulating things would work that well, but they figured it out and I pretty much have no problems. One of the biggest areas that I have a dislike for is using YouTube. So unfortunately at launch, they don't have a stock YouTube app for the Vision Pro, and you can't download the iPad version as well. So I know there's a third-party one. I think it's called Juno for $5 at this time. That is supposed to be, much more native to this device, and you can view your videos. But I'm actually waiting for YouTube to come out with their app. They actually just announced that they're developing their own, so I'll wait for that. But when using Safari, using the scrubber or hitting the play button, or maybe the settings if you want to watch something at 2x, using some of those controls on here and clicking and doing those fine adjustments can be very finicky, slightly annoying. Sometimes it screws up. So there's definitely room for improvement there. So if you're a big YouTube watcher, just keep that in mind. Another thing to think about is I would just be really careful what notifications you allow in the settings on this device as you add more apps. So on my phone, iPad, that's not as big of a deal. I try to keep it clean. But for example, the news app and some other stock things, you may want to just turn those off. When you're immersed in viewing a website or doing work, watching a movie, Apple's kept it pretty unintrusive. They get a little bubble up and a little ding in your ears. They'll let you know that you have a new notification. It's not that bad, but it is annoying. So, maybe keep it to your text messages or mail or anything that you feel is important. But other than that, I would just, keep it off because it's annoying. My last gripe with the device, and this isn't new, other people have said this, but I have to mention it. It's not that comfortable, and it's a shame. It's a lot of money for this device, and it's going to be different for everyone depending on what pad you use and your light seal and how well that version attaches to your face. What headband you use. So I don't use the solo knit band. It's the nice looking one, but I actually use the dual band loop. Just putting that on top of your head relieves so much of the pressure, but either way, it's not that comfortable. And it's the weight, maybe partially the design, maybe your face, but I don't know. I wish it were better. Even laying in bed, watching YouTube on the ceiling, I'll take this knob and I'll take the pressure off and just kind of let the weight of the device rest on me, where I'm not forcing it on me. But even after an hour, I'm kind of hurting, and I'm kind of looking forward to taking it off and just going back to my iPad. I'm sure I'll get used to it, but yeah, after the first day I was at work and I was telling someone about it, and I touched my face and I was like, wow, I'm really sore here. I didn't know that, but it's probably too. I'll start building some different muscle in there, and I don't know, but hopefully that gets better over time. Just another observation is, I wear contact lenses, so that's no problem using this. But I like using this at night. And at night, traditionally, before going to bed, going onto my iPad, I like to take out my contacts and put on my glasses just to give my eyes a break. By that time, my eyes are getting kind of dry and itchy. And but I wear my contacts all day long. So there's no reason I'd want to pay for the Z inserts for prescriptions on the device. So what happened, for example, on the first couple nights is I go to brush my teeth, take out my contacts, and then I want to use this. I'm like, oh, I'm blind without my contacts. So I go put them back in, I use the device, but again, my eyes are dry and itchy at that time because it's getting late, but heat is building up in here as well. So if I'm watching a movie, I can feel them drying out even faster. They're starting to hurt. So it's not ideal. Most people, don't probably have to worry about this if they have glasses and they have the prescription lenses in here, or they just have good vision. So it's just something that I'll have to unfortunately deal with. But it's just something to be aware of. I've also spent a lot of time working on my computer with this, as a screen, whether editing photos in Lightroom or, creating the script for this video. The script was 5 pages. By page 2, I had to take it off. And it was kind of unfortunate because that's what I want to use it for. I want to have all my apps around me. But it gets hot, it gets uncomfortable. If I need to move around or go use the restroom or go get some food, yes, I could carry this around, but I want that micro break, and I don't have to reset up everything, especially if it's paired with my Mac. So I look forward to these getting lighter and more comfortable. So for example, in the future, if they got rid of this screen that shows your eyes on the outside and found a way to reduce some weight there, I'd say go for it. I don't need that. I don't need people to see my eyes. I love that they use quality materials, especially with this aluminum. You know, if it had to be plastic, I think I would be okay. You know, I love the premium feel of a lot of Apple products, but anything they can do to lighten the load and make it more comfortable in the face, I'm all for it. So that's my review for now on the Apple Vision Pro. I'm going to have a lot more videos coming, so please, subscribe and stay tuned. But it's been a learning curve, but I've been really happy with the device. Every day I learned something new, and I think this has a promising future. It's going to become more mainstream. There'll be non-pro versions of this. Prices will come down. Your friends and family will start getting them if you haven't already got one yourself. And I look forward to it. And I think it's really going to be cool when the apps keep getting developed for this and people push it to new limits. I really think the power of this is within the apps. The videos will always be cool. Moving things around with your fingers, that's awesome. But, new types of games, immersive experiences, that's what's really exciting me, and I can't wait. Again, please subscribe if you want to see more. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next one.